Welcome to the Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast, starring Q the Boss.
Yo, 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 yo. Welcome back to another episode of Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast. They call me Q the Boss. Listen, guys, today's episode is something special because I've noticed something today. I was going over with my people today, we was having a conversation. And I've noticed in today's society, you have to teach people how to love you, which is crazy. But I'm gonna say this on record. I shouldn't have to teach you how to love me. Let me say that one more time for the people in the back. I shouldn't have to teach you how to love me. And what I've noticed today's society, that people have to teach people how to love them. People have to teach people how to respect them. People have to teach people how not to exert themselves over their boundaries. People will go past your boundaries after you tell them what a boundary is for you. And this is the world we live in. But as I was talking to my people today, I realized something. It is hard for a woman to take constructive criticism from a man when there was never a man present. Let me say that again. It is hard for a woman to take constructive criticism from a man when a man was never present. And I'm gonna tell you something. It is hard for a boy or a man to learn how to be a man where there's no one present. And that's what we're really fighting. We're not seeing that. It's the way that people are raised. I noticed in most cases, when you go to approach most women, nowadays they get very inferior to certain things that you say to them. Matter of fact, let me give it all, anything that's remotely against them. They take it personal because they've never had a man that sat down and talked to that little girl and said, little girl, you better behave yourself. Little girl, stop playing with me. Little girl, you need to sit your behind down. Little girl, don't make me have to tell you again. If that little girl had that man that told her that, that little girl would be a good woman right now, understanding how to take constructive criticism from a man. When you tell a woman a man should be able to put a woman in her place, most women take that personal. Why do they take that personal? Because you want me to protect, provide, and lead. I cannot protect what won't follow me. I cannot lead what won't follow me, and I cannot never defend something that's not willing to stand behind me. It is impossible for a man to lead something that's not leadable. It is impossible. And in most cases, most men have problems with being men because they didn't have the man present in the household. This is why we have to teach people how to love us. They don't have boundaries. They overly want you to stretch the envelope based on their ways. Sometimes you gotta sit with that little boy and say, little boy, this is what a man does. But when there's no man doing that, that's where you have a problem. Look at that man sitting with that little boy. A little man, go make up your bed right now before I break my foot in your behind. Because when that man is present, that little boy will never be looked at as a man until that man feel like he sees a man. Let me say that again. When there's a man present, that little boy will never pretend to be a man because his father will not see the man until he's ready to be a man. And that's the problem. But when we sit down and we have these conversations, a lot of people get inferior to words. I shouldn't have to teach you how to love me. I've noticed in the dating world today, you can go speak logic to anybody, but most people are very feeling-based. You have a lot of women raising boys by themselves. You have a lot of women raising little girls by themselves. In most cases, and being fair, most women are very feeling-based creatures. In most cases, most men are logical-based creatures. So now you have more women raising girls and boys by themselves, which is making them very, 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 very feeling-based. There is no logic. And this is the problem we have in 2024. You can't sit down and tell somebody anything other than what they want to hear. We get inferior to words. Again, I sit that little girl down and I said, stop playing with me. I'm not going to tell you twice. That's what these girls need. They need that man at that house telling them about themselves. Go wash your little behind because you smell. She needs that. If that man don't talk to that little girl that's inside before that woman become that woman, let me say that again. If that man don't talk to that little girl before she becomes that woman, she will always be that little girl who don't know how to be the woman with a man because she was never taught by a man how to be a woman. And that's the conversations. We won't have these conversations. I've noticed that boys will get mad even if you tell them something that's remotely fact. Why? Because the way they were taught how to handle situations. They personalize every conversation. You say anything about them that you're the problem. Oh my God, he's hurting my heart. My blood pressure. This is some very feminine men nowadays. I'm going to be honest. We got some very feminine men. And a lot of times I go back and forth talking about my men and women, and sometimes people get mad. But let's not say, yeah, talk about the men and not be comfortable talking about the women, and let's not be comfortable talking about the women, men, and you're not being comfortable talking about the men. Because we can't fix the problem only talking about one gender. We got to fix both genders, right? And this is what we do. I sit down and I talk to people all the time. And I say to myself, when raising a child, a lot of us make it personal. I've seen situations where children will believe that their father is not a good man because the mother made a choice to remove the father out of the child's life because of the fact that they couldn't get along. So now what you're seeing is a child growing up with anger towards the father, thinking what the mother told him. But in reality, the father could have been a deadbeat husband or a deadbeat boyfriend, but yet and still you would not allow him to be a father. You should always allow your child to come to the conclusion of their parents. There's a woman I know right now who literally moved her child clear across the country away from the father. And she believes that she's a good mother. This is the world we live in today. You believe that you're a good mother because you were willing to remove your child away from the father. That man works. He pays child support, right? He imagine paying for a car note every month and you can't drive the car. That's what it feels like being a parent that pays money for a kid you can't see. How unfair is that? Let me say that again. Imagine paying for a car every damn month you can't drive, and that's what it is being a father who cannot see his child. You can't even see your kid. And then these mothers believe that I'll send him to you every other weekend. You know what happens when a child don't have a father present? Do you understand the statistics that don't work in our favor for the single mothers who think they're so strong to raise children by themselves? You're raising very insecure men. And you wonder why they insecurely take it out on women. Because a lot of them are not happy with who they see in the mirror. They want to be something they were never taught how to be. You're telling a monkey to roar. How can a monkey roar when a monkey only knows how to behave like a monkey? I'm not calling a human a monkey. I'm giving you logic. A man learns how to be a man from a man. You only taught what you're taught. You only seen what you've seen. A lot of the times, I'm going to go on record and say this, someone's going to get offended, but I don't give a damn. There are women who compare men to men that they never had present in their life. They will say a real man would be XYZ. But the man you're describing is from the movies and the television shows that you've seen growing up as a child. Little sister, I have to be the bearer of bad news. Where is this man was ever in your life that showed you that a man's supposed to be this? Because a lot of times when women describe men, they create fairy tales. When I look at some of the women they describe men, I'm like, where is he? In most cases, most great providers aren't great nurturers. Let me say that again. In most cases, if you want a great provider, chances are they're not great nurturers. If you want a great nurturer, in most cases, most men aren't great providers. So you can have a man that's very attentive to your feelings, but guess what? He won't be the best provider. So you have to make a conscious choice of what you want. It is rare when you have someone equally balanced. Great provider, great nurturer. It's rare. It's rare. Because in most cases, women that have great providers, they'll say that he's not home that much. He's not always attentive to my feelings, which is absolutely normal. Because he's out there getting something called that bacon. We don't eat pork, so we call it a turkey bacon. But again, we don't want to have these conversations. We don't want to have these conversations. I'm sitting down wondering, why do you have to teach so many people how to love you, how to respect you, how to understand you? To my men on my live right now, have you ever sat with a woman and you try to tell her about herself and realize how fast the conversation switches on you? Because no man has ever held that little girl accountable. Ever since that little girl was a child, there was no real man to ever hold her accountable. And you know what a woman gonna say? Well, my uncles was there, my cousins was there. Your uncle wasn't your damn daddy. That wasn't your daddy. That was your uncle who came around once in a while. He gave you a little bit of an example, but you need something called consistency. But again, if you don't talk to that little girl before she become that little girl woman, she's always gonna be that little girl who just became that big woman, and she still behaves like that little girl. If you don't talk to that little boy and teach him how to be that man, that little boy will pose as a man all his life, pretending to be a man that he's really not. And you're gonna see that as a repetitive thing. We're watching humans who are naturally creatures of habit, but yet and still can't see that the habits are the reason why these creatures are having problems. You've created bad habits. You cannot teach most old dogs new tricks. When a dog did not roll over when it was younger, it won't roll over now that it's older. Talk to me nice. But a lot of us don't want to hear these conversations. We're the most inferior culture there is. Insecure as hell. People do not want to hear anything. When you sit with a person, most people will die the way they are. We take that K through 7. That K through 7, right? Those are the most vital years. You ever seen a selfish kid? They become selfish adults. You ever seen a lazy kid? They become lazy adults. You ever see a rebellious kid? They become rebellious adults. When you see patterns, in most cases, ask a teacher. Most kids that were a certain way when they were younger end up being the same certain way when they're older. Why? Because again, we're creatures of habit. And once you create certain habits, the natural character becomes its aura. It's hard to reprogram a mind once the mind has made conviction or it basically accepted its beliefs. Because all you're doing is teaching a belief. You're teaching a belief. If I raise my son to believe that he's supposed to live off a woman, when he becomes a man, he is more likely to what? Live off a woman. If I tell my daughter that a man is not a man unless he can pay all the bills you want, your Birkin bags, your Louis Vuitton bags, travel you across the world, and he's not a real man unless he can do that. What happens? Your daughter starts becoming something called the HOE because she starts running behind all the men that could do that, which is a very rare percentage. So chances are your daughter's more inclined to be somebody's side chick, sugar baby, thought, hoe, and your son to be what? Somebody's bum, playing video games in the house while she's at work, borrowing her car, talking about, I'm gonna go pick up another girl. Lazy as hell. And this is what the problem is in our culture. We're a sick culture. We're sick. Somebody asked me the other day, it's a woman. She said, can a woman raise a man? I said, the only way a woman can raise a man, if she got one, she got to put great examples around them. Ladies, and I'm going to say this on record. You cannot. I want my ladies to hear this good. Somebody about to get mad at this. Somebody gonna get mad. But as I like to say, I don't give a damn. Watch this. Ladies, you cannot pour what you want your child to be or your son to be, right? You don't want to pour into him to what you want him to be. But every man that you bring around is the complete opposite of what you want your son to be. Let me say that again. Ladies, you cannot talk about what you want your son to be and hold him accountable to what you want him to be, but yet and still you date men that are nothing like what you're telling your son to be. That is a hypocrite. That is a hypocrite. You're telling your son you want him to be this superior man, but yet and still you bring home the most inferior man. Let me say that again. You want your son to be the most superior man, but yet and still you bring home the most inferior man. Damn. What are we saying here, guys? What are we saying here? There's no way you should tell your son to be this great man when you're bringing home Pookie, Tyrone, and Mookie. You're bringing home Pookie, Tyrone, and Mookie, and then you wonder why your son is a Pookie. Your son is a Pookie because his quote-unquote stepfather's a Pookie. You're bringing home your son a drug dealer, and you're telling your son don't be a drug dealer. You're bringing your son home a scammer, and you're telling your son not to be a scammer. Because you know why? Because it's weird to tell someone not to be, but you accept that what you're telling him not to be. Damn. To my men, when you look at your little queen, your daughter, the one you say you love more than anything, if you're telling me right now you're a good father, but what you're telling your daughter to be is what you deciding to date, right? Which is crazy. You bringing your daughter home a hoe as a stepmother, and then you're mad at the fact your daughter wants to be a hoe. Damn. This is a sick mentality, guys. Because I realize in life, in order to be the example, you have to be the example. You can't set an example by not being the example. In order to be something, or you want your child to be something, they will be what they've seen. In most cases, a zebra. Well, damn near all the time, a zebra will be a zebra. A lion will be a lion. A monkey will be a monkey. And that's exactly what it is. A weak man usually comes from weak parents. A weak woman comes from weak mothers and fathers. Approximately 1 in 3 children live in single-parent family homes in the U.S., with the majority of families, 83%, headed by mothers. This is what a normal statistic has right now. This is a normal statistic. But if you talk like this, people get mad across numerous studies. Children, listen to this, across numerous studies, children raised in single mother families are at the heightened risk of substance abuse, depression, anxiety, internalizing external behaviors, and a lot of disorders. But there's some woman that's gonna sit on this live and say, I don't need no man to raise my child. Listen, and I'm gonna go on record and say this. You might not need the child father that you chose to have a baby with because he might be a bum. But you damn sure need to put real men around that daughter and real men around that son, whether they basketball coach, whether they're teachers, whether they're educators, whether they're churches, whether they're people that can give them an example of what is. It is hard to be something you've never seen. How can you be something you've never seen? How you expect me to know how to do something I've never done? That's like handing somebody a job and say, they've never done it in their life and tell them to go do a good job. More than likely, they're gonna fail. They're gonna fail. Look at the marriage statistics right now. Look at the marriage statistics. Right now, we had a culture where everything is about separation, it's not about working out. We want what our grandmothers had, but we want to behave like the single woman and the single man today. I know people in relationships, married or in relationships right now, who move around like they're single as hell. They move around like they're single as hell. They talk like they're single. They do things like they're single. They act like they're single. They behave like they're single. Everything is about them doing what they want to do. They're rebellious. Our culture right now is in a very bad state, right? Bigger. And the reason why it's in a bad state is because there's a lack of accountability. I genuinely say this on record. Most black people don't like to be held accountable. We'll do everything against us and we still want to be the lack of blamed. I said to a person earlier today, it's easy to say you would date a person that don't make money because you've always had somebody in the house for you to help you pay bills. So it's easier to say what we could accept when we never had to do it. In 2023, a total of 989,000 divorces and annulments occurred across the 45 U.S. states that report their statistics. During the same year, 2 million marriages occurred, making the U.S. marriage rate 6.2 per 1,000 people. Why is these statistics so crazy? Because most people are working to get the ring or the wedding, but they're not working for the marriage. Most people want to brag about the wedding, but they don't want to brag about the marriage. They want the ice on the finger, but they don't want to see that the relationship is better. In most cases, I genuinely believe from my experience, the best relationships that I still see working today is the couples that spend the least amount of money on weddings. I go to weddings where you'll see a young couple, 30 years old, spend 30, 50, 60, 70, 80K, 100K on credit cards and everything, and they're divorced in the next 5 years. because they were never planning on keeping the marriage. They was only planning on how to celebrate that day, which is the wedding. And that's what a lot of people are doing today. I'm speaking from experience. I'm a divorcee, and I'm gonna be honest. I never had a mentality to be married. And the reason why I didn't have a mentality to be married, I don't come from marriage. So anytime things didn't go my way, I genuinely believe that I could walk away. I never felt like I was stuck in a marriage. And the reason why I never felt stuck is because I felt like I could always walk away. And in most cases, when you're growing up with a single parent, you hear that I can do it by myself. I don't need nobody. I got this. So what happens is you feel like you fall less of if you can't do it yourself also. So in most cases, you start believing the same mentality that you were taught. I don't need nobody. I can do it by myself. I'm good. And the reason why you think like that is because of what you've come from. I know mothers who wish they had men in the house with them, but will still say that they don't need a man. I know men who wish they had women in their house who will still say they don't need women. Because it's an insecurity thing. A lot of people are insecure to look like they need someone. But I'm gonna tell you something about life. Life is about needing people, and that's normal. Every other culture got the memo except the black culture. We're the ones avoiding the logic. Every culture, Hispanic culture, marriage is up. Asian culture, marriage is up. Russian culture, marriage is up. Jewish culture, marriage is up. Black culture, marriage is down. Why is that? Because black people feel like I can do it by myself. Everything is about not needing each other. But I'm gonna tell you something, once you understand that there's roles in life, then you understand why you need someone else. There are things I can't do that a woman can do. There are things that a woman can do that I can't do. And vice versa, we able to balance each other. I told this guy the other day, you're a great provider. But the only reason why your relationship works is because your woman is a great nurturer. If you was a great provider, and she was a great provider, in most cases, the children will be neglected because there's no nurturing there. Right? Someone has to be the nurturer. I said, if you're not balancing out the household, right? Because it sounds good to say, yo, I wish I had a doctor and a lawyer coming together. That's a power couple. Yes, that could be a power couple, but he's all about his career. She's all about her career to the point where they don't even pay each other no mind. That's why. It's like you need a balance no matter how you slice it. A lot of us don't believe in balance because a lot of us is off balance. And as long as we stay off balance, we're going to continue to create children that are off balance. Look at some of these kids. They're so off balance that you can't even have a conversation with most of them. I watched this show, and it's a balloon show. I'm not going to say exactly what it is. It's a balloon show. And during the balloon show, I seen the one with the adults, and I seen the one with the younger youth. When I look at the younger people, right, everyone was saying things like they're influencers, right? They're YouTubers, they're bloggers, they're vloggers, they're travel. I want you to see the statistic of these influencers that make money. I want you to see this. The statistics don't play in their favor. What we're creating right now, guys, with all these broken families, is the most broken generation I have ever witnessed in my life. Statistics right now show that black families are buying less homes. And the sad part is, more married couples own more homes. So if marriage don't exist, especially in this market, that means we ain't buying no more homes. But I want to say something real fast to you guys, right? Where we're at? Okay, 48% of influencers earn less than $15,000 annually. So all these people talk about their influencers, they ain't making no money. They ain't making no damn money. They out here talking about their influencer. What are you influencing? You're influencing your account to stay broke. But you ain't hear that from me. You ain't hear that from me. But again, if we anti-marriage, right, then we're anti-success. Because statistics show favorable for married people than not, right? And I'm sitting here saying this again as a divorcee. I still believe in marriage. And the reason why I believe in marriage is because it is more better statistically when two parents or two people work together and build an empire. It is way more statistically proven, right? Look, destroying a community for $15K, you ain't never lied. Damn. One more time. Damn. That's a fact. Destroying the community for $15K. And this is the culture. You got grown women who believe they're Megan Thee Stallion. You got grown men who believe they're NBA Youngboy. Little Dirt. Like, this is crazy. You got people that could say every lyric for artists, but they can't even recite certain words in an encyclopedia. I told a grown man, I ain't even gonna say it, because he gonna get mad if he hear the story. I ain't even gonna say, he said something crazy. Grown man. But I'm not gonna even say it, because again, yeah, he gonna know. He gonna know. I'm not gonna violate him like that. I love him. It's just a mentality. Imagine sitting with a grown-up, and it sounds like you're talking to a child, and you have to come down to their level mentally to even get through to them. That's pretty much what I'm starting to see in today's society. You have women who will live in a room, who will drive a Benz and struggle month to month, be the first person screaming, I don't need a man. You have men who are economically not doing well. And I'm not saying you're dating someone to live off of. I'm saying two people coming together to build an empire is always good. The reality of married people make more and spend less than unmarried counterparts. Just so y'all hear this statement. On average, married couples spend $10K less annually per person. So that's $20,000. With about half of the difference coming from lower housing costs additionally, right? Married adults earn more than unmarried adults, both men and women. That's not my opinion. That's statistical facts. So when you hear people say, I don't need a man, I don't need a woman, that's why they're broke. They're living at their mama house in a room. You have people right now who would judge a man for having a small apartment, who live in an apartment with their mother, and will try to play you. Like, yuck, you live in a room. Yuck, you live with your mother and never left outside your mother's bosom. And you believe you grown. Let me say that again. The reality is married people make more money and spend less than unmarried people. On average, married couples spend $10,000 less per person, with about half of the difference coming from lower housing costs. Additionally, married adults earn more than unmarried adults. Watch. Why? Is because the bills in the house is being split. So therefore, it's offsetting the expenses. Every culture get this logic, except us. Damn. Listen, I'm tired of being the laughing joke. I'm tired. I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired of being a laughing joke where people look at us as a joke because we can't get our minds right, because we can't work together, because men, and I'm gonna say this on record to my ladies on this, yes, a man's supposed to put you in your place, because the things I see y'all say to men, I will never date a Sharkeisha, I will never date a Sharnisha or a Shaquana. At the end of the day, if I cannot lead you as a man, I'm not entertaining you. It don't make no sense. A man shouldn't have to fight for his role. Why do I gotta fight with a woman to spend my resources on a woman? What the hell does that make sense? I gotta fight with a woman for her to allow me to spend my money on her. Listen, my mother and father ain't first cousins. I am not slow. That is weird as hell. But again, it's a mentality that people have. We teaching people how to love us because their parents never showed them how to love people. So you're doing a job with an adult that their parents supposed to have already done. Let me say that again. I'm teaching what your mother and father should have had taught you. I'm dealing with women that I got to teach them how to respect a man. Why am I teaching them how to respect a man? Because a man was never there to show her how to receive respect from a man. Because at the end of the day, my daughter cannot talk back to me, nor can my son. I think right now, if you tell me my daughter spoke back to me, that ain't happening. I'm not telling my daughter or teaching my daughter how to bow down to a man, but I'm teaching my daughter how to be led by a man. Let me say that again. I'm not teaching my daughter how to bow down to a man, but I'm teaching my daughter how to respect a man. And when I say this, someone's gonna be like, what? Listen, I love my daughters more than anything in the world. But at the same time, I understand the importance of leadership. And where there's no leadership, there will be nothing but dysfunction. Where there's dysfunction, there will always be toxic people. When there's a leader, that means someone is being held accountable. And as a man, if he's held accountable, then he should have the ability to lead. He should trust that he knows that you're gonna follow when he tells you, let's go. I've been in spaces with women. And imagine walking into a space, and when you look around the room, you can feel danger, imminent danger. One thing I will say this, and I'm gonna give you this. Women are better at reading people, because when a woman loves you, she pays attention to everything every energy that comes around you. I will give that. That's that nurturing gift that women have. When they see that something is out of whack, a woman can see it. But I'm gonna tell you something, a gift for a man. A man can walk into a room and see that it is dangerous for him to be there. He can see it. And sometimes I realize that a woman, right, will lead you into the gates of hell because she wants to be in a space, and you gotta fight with her to leave that space. That means that is a woman you do not want to be with because she is not leadable. I shouldn't have to beg my woman like, yo, we out of here. When I say move, we out. That's it. When you look at that scenario, right, imagine a security, right, doing a detail. He's protecting a female, let's say a celebrity, Mariah Carey. He's protecting her. If Mariah Carey don't move when he say move, it's gonna put them both in danger. That's how a woman needs to look at her man. When he says, I'm protecting you, what you expect me to do is protect you. I realize that even with protecting you, it's telling you about yourself, because sometimes with protecting you, it's protecting you from yourself. Some women can't hear that. I'm protecting you from yourself because you're in your feelings. And I'm protecting you by giving you logic. I'm protecting you by giving you game. I'm protecting you by showing you that you didn't think this all the way through and I did. Look at this scenario. If you do this move, it's not a good move. That is protection also. It's not about getting down physically, going toe to toe with people all the time. Because sometimes, I hate to say this, a lot of men's biggest fight is their mates. Their biggest fight is their mates. Because the one thing I've realized, the old school women, if their man was down, the woman felt like they was down. Nowadays, these women feel like if they man down, that's him, he's down. I'm not. I seen a video that went viral the other day, and it was disturbing. They asked the guy, how much money you got? He said $1,300. And then when they asked the girl, how much money you got? She said she had over $70,000. So the guy goes, yo, you got all this money. Why you got me killing myself to pay for everything when you got money? She said, because you're the man. Ladies, I'm gonna tell you something. At one point, you want equal treatment. But at another point, you don't want the equal responsibilities. Y'all gotta make up your mind. Because if you want equal treatment, then you gotta be fair economically too. If you're in a better financial position than your mate, don't mean he's a bum. It just means that you're doing better than him. And it's okay. When you look at society in itself, the world is oppressing the black culture. I'm gonna say it on record. I don't normally talk like this, but I'm gonna say it. We're being oppressed. Mentally, physically, emotionally, economically. Oppression, it's real. But at the same time, when you have the person who's supposed to be helping you, helping to oppress you, mentally, physically, emotionally, economically, then who's really the oppressor? Damn. But again, these conversations are not being had. Too many people are literally sitting there every day fighting with each other, but they're not fighting for each other. Let me say that again. Too many people are fighting against each other, but they're not fighting for each other. Thinking that we're going to build something without building each other. You can't build something without each other. Because I'm going to tell you something, where one is weak, two is weak. If there's a table that has 4 legs, right? You have table that has 4 legs. The moment you take one of the set of legs, the table tips over. And a lot of men are tipping over because they got too much weight on their shoulders. Ladies, the world is not cheap anymore. Men, you got to stop trying to impress hood rats. You can't make a woman something. I tell every man this on record, and I pray that y'all listen to this good. You should not have to teach a woman how to love you. You should not have to teach a woman how to respect you. You should not have to teach a woman how to submit to you. Because what is for you will always be for you, and what ain't for you will not be for you. And the more you try to force something to be for you, it will never it'll never be for you, because it was never before you. It was never for you. Let me say that again. You cannot teach a woman how to respect you. You should not have to teach a woman how to love you. You should never have to teach a woman how to submit to you. In most cases, a woman can't submit to you because she never submitted to a father. And men, ladies, that man that you expect to be a man can't be a man, because his mother was bringing home men that was the opposite of what she wanted him to be. Let me say that again. That man that you want your man to be had a mother that brought home a man that was not what she wanted him to be. Y'all missed that statement. Y'all missed that statement. His mother brought home a man that was nothing what she was telling him to be. She told him to work hard. That man ain't work. She told that man, a man's supposed to take out the garbage. That man laid in the room all day. She told that man, her son, this is all the things she telling her son. She told her son let me go back. She told her son to take out the garbage. He had to do it. She told her son to work hard. Her son had to do it. She told her son to do everything against what she told her man. And every time she got mad at her man, guess who she took it out on? Her son. Her son. And now you wonder why her son grow up and resent women so much. Some of these men can't love women because they hate their mothers. Y'all didn't hear me. Some of these men can't love women because they hate their mothers. They still haven't gotten over how the mother treated them and how they put a stepfather or a boyfriend before they put their son. Some of these women love their boyfriends more than their own children. Some of these women love trips, traveling, partying with the girls more than they love their child. Some of these mothers left their kids in places just to say that they looked for a babysitter. You left her with the worst person in your family just to have a babysitter so you could be outside of the club being a thought. That's the truth. Now, when you say these comments, some people get mad. Some of these mothers don't deserve to be mothers, and some of these fathers don't deserve to be fathers. Some of these parents are trash. But if you say this, somebody's going to get mad. But I shouldn't have to teach somebody how to love me. That ain't my responsibility. I realize waking up every day, loving on someone, right? Realizing that this person will never receive my love because they were never taught how to receive my love, was making deposits in somebody when I realized at the end of the day, there was never going to be a return on my investment. Let me say that again. I kept pouring into a woman, then I realized at one point it was never going to get a return on my investment because this woman don't know how to reciprocate what you're giving her. Every time you do, she expects more. Every time you can't do, she expects you to be. She calls you a bum. You're a loser. You're a coward. You're a punk. You're everything under the sun but the man that you truly are. And this is the conversations, ladies. Some of y'all need to die alone. Some of you men need to die alone too. Because it's not fair that somebody got to deal with your broken self. What your mother didn't teach, you got to try to teach. It's sad when you have grown women telling a man how to be a man. Because this man genuinely don't know how to be a man. Oh my God. This is the sick culture, right? That's deep. Some people do need to die alone. Because they're very selfish in the way they were raised to be alone. It's sad when you have somebody that is meant to be alone trying to be in a relationship. All they're going to do is go out in the world and keep poisoning people. You know you're sick, but yet and still you go out in the world and you keep doing what? Poisoning others, which means that you're selfish as hell. Let me say that again. There are people that are sick mentally, meaning their parents raised them twisted, and now they go in the world and keep poisoning people. And what happens is the person that goes out there happily go luckily looking for love, they end up getting one of your poison victims and they get the same sickness because 9 out of 10 times you take on the luggage from the last relationship. So therefore, if I was hurt, I'm going out to hurt somebody back because hurt people hurt people, and the world is hurt. So therefore, all you're seeing is people hurting people. People are trying to fix their poison. They're not trying to fix their sickness. They're just trying to hide behind the mask, which is makeup, weaves, wigs, money, men, money, right? Cars, clothes. We can keep going. Trips in social media, but in reality, they're sick as hell. Some of their mother and father first cousins. Damn. We got some inbreeding going in this world. We got some sick people out here. We got some sick people. And I'm going to talk that talk. And why I'm going to talk it because I know what I'm talking about. I sit with some people, and I wonder why our culture is so broken. But then I realize a broken home created this broken person. People don't understand that term, broken. Please give me the definition of broken. I want to give you the actual definition of broken. When you take that term broken, a lot of us aren't understanding the totality of being broken. One of the terms I'm going to tell you is, I want y'all to hear this. When you're dealing with broken people, right? Listen, it's okay. Somebody said, that's me right now, but I'm going to tell you something. There's nothing wrong with being broke when you accept and understand that you have to fix yourself. But jumping into another relationship is not going to fix you. It's bad when you have a broken person trying to jump into another relationship thinking that's going to fix them. Because I'm going to tell you something. A lot of times it's not that you're dating the wrong people. Sometimes you're the wrong person that's trying to date people. Let me say that again. Listen to this. A lot of the times you're not dating the wrong people. You're not the right person to be dating. And that's really what the issue is. People are scared to work and be alone. So they run to relationships thinking that's the problem. The problem is not that you can't find the right person. The problem is you're not the right person for the right person. Listen to this, broken. People who feel emotionally broken have low self-esteem. And why you know that they have low self-esteem is because they project how they feel about themselves. They want you to feel the same way. So if a woman or a man feels low about themselves, they want you to feel low. You ever seen somebody say something like this to you? This is a trait of a narcissist. And you think you look good? Nobody want to be with you. They're just going to have sex with you. That's what low self-esteem people say to you. So for my people on my live right now, if you ever heard somebody say any of those things, just know that's a narcissist. They projecting how they feel about themselves. Nobody want to be with you. They just going to try to have sex with you. That's what a man would do when they try to control you. A woman would try to control you. Don't make enough money for these women. Or they going to just want you for your money. Another way of narcissists say if a man says that he's with a relationship, oh, she's just using you. Those are narcissistic ways they try to control you. Keep going further. Low self-esteem tend to be unhappy, right? You may feel hopeless or in despair. Perhaps you feel inadequate or unworthy of love. Of course, none of these things are true, but they're common for people who believe they are broken. A lot of times we don't fix ourselves because of the fact that we are broken and we don't want to see what the true nature of ourselves is. When you're able to identify what's wrong with you, then you can identify solutions on fixing yourself. But the problem with fixing yourself is you have to look in the mirror and see the uglier version of yourself. You ever seen someone that's attractive as hell, but they still think they're ugly? You ever seen someone that's attractive, but they still think they're ugly? Because inside they feel that's how they feel about themselves. And that's the problem with the world being sick. These people are literally putting people in a comatose state because they're in a comatose state. What happens is an open mind with closed eyes cannot process information. The eyes and the mind has to be open in order to process information. A lot of people can't process anything because their eyes are either open but their minds are closed, or their minds are open but their eyes are closed, so they can't process anything. We don't want to see anything, guys. We fall victim to our past. We fall victim to our old standard of thinking. But again, sometimes you will say things like, oh, men ain't nothing, but in reality, no, sister, it's you. Your choices of men is nothing. You attracted to losers. And guess what? You go in that room every day, sister, you put on that, it's called that loser perfume because you keep attracted to losers. And you put on that the loser clothes that's gonna lure more losers. And the man, you do the same thing. You put on your loser chain, your loser watch, your loser clothes, and you drive your loser car because you're looking for the loser woman who's gonna feel comfortable being in the passenger seat of your loser vehicle. That's the culture. That's the culture. We have low self-esteem. I can get on here and say that I'm proud of myself and I feel accomplished. And someone like, big bro got on a Timu chain. Do you know, man? I don't even want to go into that, but like, come on. It's like I don't have to brag about my accomplishments, but for me to feel accomplished by a loser online that's not accomplished, who feels unaccomplished. So therefore he projects or she projects how they feel about me because of how they feel about themselves. I look in the mirror and smile at myself and high five the mirror when I'm leaving. You got it, my guy. You him. Because someone else don't feel like they're them. They're going to hate you for feeling like you are. And it was a woman looking at herself in the mirror and say, I'm her. She has every bit of right to feel like that, but someone who don't feel like she's her going to hate you for feeling like you're her. So they say new levels, new devils. New levels, new devils. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to be willing to walk away from our past tense, quote unquote, relationships sometime. You got to close the door to the old you and allow the new person to walk into the new door. You can't keep complaining about what was when you're not seeing what is today. And what is today is the fact that you're still living in your past. A man shouldn't teach a woman how to love him. A woman shouldn't have to teach a man how to be a man. And it's sad that a man has to teach a woman how to be a woman. I said this before, somebody got mad at this. When I walk into a house and the lights off in the house, I don't give a damn what society we live in. In most cases, when I walk into a house and a man and a woman is in that house and your lights is off, I'm looking at that goddamn man. When I walk into that house and that house is dirty, I'm looking at that goddamn woman like, how can you allow your house to look like this, sister? Because everyone knows that a woman sets the tone of a home. And where there's dirty energy, there's a dirty woman. And where there's lack of bills, there's a lazy man. And I'm gonna call it what it is. If I walk into a house, again, and the bills are being negated, there's a lazy man there. If I walk into a house and the house is dirty, there's a lazy woman in there too, and she's filthy. And I'm gonna call it what it is. Somebody gonna get mad. Right? Somebody said, let me get that kitchen and clean. I love you for that, my sister. Let me get that. Listen, we all so mad about logic, facts, truth, because feelings have trumped logic to the point where our culture is sick. I don't want to be sick no more, guys. I'm healing. And for those who are on that healing journey, I want you to enjoy it with me. I just released a class the other day, and I want those to hear this on my live. I released a class, it's called Empowering Healthy Minds. This class teaches a whole new level of mentality by also giving you access to people who have similar or like-minded mentalities. Why I say similar? Because everyone's not going to be 100% on the same parallel. But yet and still like-minded people can cohabitate and intermingle because at the end of the day, we speak the same language. What is the language? Success. What is the language? Growth. What is the language? Maturity. What is the language? Putting our families in better position. which is generational wealth. These are the languages that we speak in. For those who want to join this class, when I get off of this live, don't click the link, write message, write class or course, and I will send it to you, right? Because in order for us to fix our pedigree, we got to upgrade our pedigree. You can be the runt of the litter, but yet and still can change your whole pedigree of your family. A lot of us aren't willing to be the person that's willing to step out on ourselves. Imagine sitting there and having someone tell you about yourself. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to hear what's wrong with you? Are you going to ignore the signs, right? So like before the check engine light come on a car, you saw the signs in most cases. You saw the signs. Write me after on my messenger, guys. Write class and course, and I'll send you the link. I want you to join this class and this course. Y'all going to love this class. This class is amazing. It's called Empowering Healthy Minds. In order for us to have this world, we got to build a world within the world. Every other culture has successfully succeeded because they built a culture within a culture. Watch, you go to Chinatown in the world right now, what do you see there? Chinese. And how do the Chinese act like? Chinese. You have Jewish people, they have their own communities. Every culture has created their own communities within a community. Therefore, changing the mentality or keeping the same mentality in the culture. So yeah, we can intermingle with other cultures. But a Jewish kid knows that he's a Jewish kid. A Chinese kid, whether born here for 5 generations or not, still know that he's a Chinese kid. The problem is when you want a culture to teach you how to be great, when the culture is all about exploiting you, you're going to continue to lose. Our culture loses because of the lack of knowledge. And the lack of knowledge is the insecurities that a lot of us have. We are inferior to hearing others' opinions about ourselves. But I'm going to tell you something. When is a classroom with no teachers? We got to be willing to go to school and sit in class again. And it's not about the age. It's about the level of maturity psychologically. A lot of us need to grow again. And I suggest a lot of y'all join this class. It's called Empower Healthy Minds. After this live goes off, text me course and I will send you the link. I'm telling you, you're going to love this class, right? You're going to love it. This class is going to give you access to nothing but people who think like you, who behave like you. It's going to be regular Zooms, regular one-on-ones, and regular open forum conversations where we're going to always be able to talk like this. So it's going to help you with the growth because some people don't have the access to what they want to grow to. Because I believe like this, and this is my logic. The eyes have to see it. The ears have to hear it so the mind can register it and process it and understand it. But without exposure, there will be no expansion. Exposure leads to expansion. That's the t-shirt, guys. That's the mentality we have. Exposure leads to expansion. The mind cannot expand if it's not exposed. We got to be exposed to new levels of life and for us to understand that there is better levels in life. So I'm sitting here saying this right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we can't continue to be the enemy while the enemy watch us sit back and laugh at us, knowing that they're the real enemy. The enemy is not men and women. The enemy is the way you were taught. And the teaching is what's actually allowing us to continue to fail. It's like putting all the wrong answers on the quiz year by year. Every time your birthday roll around, that next year, for the next 12 months, you're going to write the wrong answers again, wondering why you keep failing the test of life. Let me say that again. Imagine going into a classroom, right? This is year 1, right? You're 1 year old. You write all the wrong answers, you fail the class. Year 2, you fail all the classes. By the time you realize that you're 45 years old, you're still failing the classes because you didn't realize that it's time for you to go to another class. Sometimes, right, it's not that you don't have the ability. Sometimes it's the person that taught you. You got to know who's teaching you, who's elevating you, who's teaching you how to grow. So I suggest for those who are interested, again, let me say this before we leave today. So sign up for this course. It's called Empowering Healthy Minds. It's a lot of literature, a lot of knowledge. For those who don't know, I'm not a financial advisor, but I've done very well for myself. I've taught myself economics. I taught myself finance. I taught myself investing. So again, now I try to teach others how to elevate their mind. You can never be successful if you don't elevate your mind. Guys, when we finish this live today, stay on my live. But watch, when you sit down and have these conversations, it's how you program the mind that will only process what it learns. A lot of people learned how to fail in relationships. That's why they fail in relationships. A lot of people fail in life because they were taught how to fail in life. A lot of people lose because they were taught how to lose. A lot of people don't grow because they were taught how to stop growing. They were taught they didn't know it all. You already know everything. You've done enough. But I'm going to tell you something. Look at yourself today in that mirror and say, I'm not losing because of the world. I'm losing because of the fact that I'm following a world that's losing. But in order for me to win in this world, I got to go into a new world in this world. There are people that live every bit in the same state with you but don't have the same experiences. There are people that say a shooting and a drive-by happened last night in that same neighborhood. And there are people that live in that same neighborhood with you and they ain't never seen it. They're not even exposed to it because they live in a whole other world. They don't see. Listen to what I just said to you. You can have two houses on the same block in the same location right next door to each other, and two people don't have the same experiences in the same neighborhood because that person is not into the same things that person is into. That person getting up, going to church every weekend, going to work, they're so busy they can't see what's going on in the neighborhood. And then the person that's not busy, they see everything that's going on in the neighborhood. They're too distracted. And this is the conversation we will have. So I sit here and say like this. Men, is it my women that's bad? Or is it the women that we're choosing that's bad? Because if there's one good person, there's multiple. And most women ain't no exception to the rule. There are a lot of good women out here. But sometimes we get infatuated by looks, a big behind, to the point where a woman's willing to go on a surgery and get a fake behind because they're willing they just want to entice a man. And this is the world we live in. We don't live with logic anymore. We're procreating a sick mentality. In order for us to break this cycle, we got to break the cycle. We can't keep ignoring the issue because the elephant has been in the room for a long time. And a lot of times when you have these conversations, we avoid that big old elephant sitting in the room. We look at it, we're going to say we ain't going to talk about it. Why we ain't going to talk about it? Because it's going to bring up too much of our trauma. We're not going to talk about the fact that our daddies wasn't good men. We're not going to talk about the fact that our mother brought around bum niggas, excuse my language, bum men, right, around us. And we're not going to talk about those guys. This is what we're going to ignore. And when we ignore this logic, we keep creating logic like that. Sometimes, ladies, it ain't about finding the flyest man on earth, but it's about finding the best overall man on earth. And in most cases, the man that's going to be that best man, he's not going to look like what you expect. No, I've noticed in most cases, most people that are married, they're not married to looks. They're married to character. Because in most cases, divorces that you see is because most people marry for looks. You're looking for character. You gotta look for character because looks will fade, but a mentality will always reign transparent. So in order for us to fix this culture, we gotta identify what's wrong with the culture. So I'm gonna sit here and say this again. I shouldn't have to teach a woman how to respect me. Her father should have did that. A woman shouldn't have to teach a man how to be a man. His father should have did that. I shouldn't have to teach a woman how to love me. Her mother should have did that. I shouldn't have to teach a man, or a woman should have to teach a man how to love a woman. Her mother should have did that. But when you don't learn how to love someone, all you do is go through life loving people the way you saw us love. And I'm going to tell you how you know this is a logical fact. There are women who will not respect you, who will not love you unless you're a bad guy. When did it become cool to want to attach yourself to something bad? This is the new generation. You have women who like bad men more than good men. And a man that's a good man is considered a cornball or a punk or a coward because he's responsible. And there are women who don't seek attention. And men don't look at those women. They look at for the women that's always seeking attention. And they wonder why your woman give it up to the village. But the woman that was classy and tried to reserve herself That's the one we look past. This is the culture. We live in a sick world. They'll push nasty artists to us because they feel like black culture. We have made hip hop a culture. And when hip hop ain't nothing but just a genre of music. When you look at people right now, you ask this question, right? You hear reggae? Reggae is just music. You hear compa? That's a music. R&B is just a genre of music. Hip hop has become our culture to the point where we don't even understand our own culture. But in order for us to fix our culture, we got to change our culture. And the only way to change our culture, we got to create a new village. For those who are interested in joining my class right now, hit my messenger. I'm going to send you the link right now. It's called Empowering Healthy Minds. Join my class right now. I promise you, you're going to love it. You're going to enjoy it. But I'm going to tell you something, guys. My guys, stay on live. Until next time, guys, I love you. Don't let that go over your head.